So I'm going to start with some fun softball questions, just get us rolling. Then I'll work into some more detailed, thoughtful questions. So, where did you go to high school?
In Kalamazoo, Michigan. It was called Gull Lake High School. That's where I grew up.
What was your school mascot?
The Blue Devils. Yeah, Gull Lake Blue Devils.
How would you describe yourself at 16 or 17?
I'd say cocky. and a little bit brash.
Yeah.
Young and brash.
Here's something I'm curious about. A lot of my friends already seem to know what they want to do with their lives. So, two-part question. What do you say to kids like me who haven't figured out what path we want to follow? And how important is it to know what I want to do with my life? What did you have a backup plan if soccer didn't work out?
Those are good questions. So my dad, I'll tell you what my dad always told me, and I use that as, obviously a basis of, why I became what I became. Because he used to always tell me, pick something that you like and that you're good at, and focus on it and be the best at it. And he said it doesn't matter what you like, what you want to do, but pick something and be the best that you can at it. And obviously it's got to be something that's your passion and something that's your strength as well, because nobody wants to do anything they're not good at or something they, ultimately, not going to do anything they don't like. So, at first, growing up, similar to you probably, I didn't know necessarily what I was good at. I didn't know what I liked completely. But I always thought to myself, once I settle on the one thing I want to be good at, then I'm going to pour myself into it. So I grew up doing every sport, to be honest with you. My dad never played soccer, but I knew I liked sports, so I did every sport. But the older I got, I realized I really liked soccer more than the others, and that was the sport I was best at as well. So when I hit high school, as a freshman in high school, I stopped playing all the other sports. And that's when I really made a decision that I wanted to be a professional soccer player. So I full-time immersed myself in that. And literally I'd spend 2-3 hours a day practicing, and I'd watch videos, and I just couldn't get enough, and that was my dream. That was my goal, to be a professional soccer player. And I think it's important that you devote yourself, So it's one thing picking something to be good at, but then you gotta devote yourself to really, accomplishing that dream and that goal, which I did. And eventually that goal became a reality because I liked soccer, I was good at it, but also more important, I really just spent a lot of time. I firmly believe that, the more time you spend in something, the more you practice something, the more you're passionate about something, eventually you can make anything happen. Anybody can make anything happen. When I talk to kids, I tell them I didn't just fall out of the sky as a really good soccer coach. I didn't fall out of the sky as a really good soccer player. I had to work at it, and I was no different than anybody else. So I became a pro, but it was a short day in the sun. I had 5 knee surgeries.
Yeah.
So at 25 I was done. So then I now had to pick the next thing I was going to do, the next thing I was going to be good at. And my thought was, do I go get just a job? I had a degree, obviously, in sports marketing. Do I go get a sports marketing job, or what's the next phase, right? And so I decided I want to be a coach. And so I did the same thing I did when I decided to be a pro player. I felt I could become a really good coach, and I liked being a coach, and I wanted to stay in the game. And I felt like getting my knee surgeries meant that was probably somewhat of a foreshadowing of what my next, path would be. And it was probably a blessing in disguise, and I was able at 25 to start my coaching career. And then I absolutely just threw myself into that, the same way I threw myself into being a player. I tried to learn as much as I could. I tried to study. I tried to watch trainings. I tried to coach as many teams as possible. And here I am at 41. That's 16 years later, and I've made it now as a pro coach. So I think that's the key. Pick what you're good at, pick what you want to do, and then pour yourself into it and be the best you can be at it. And if you're going to have a dream or a goal, then make sure you spend time on that goal and practice and work. And the more hours you do something, the better you get. It's that simple.
Yeah. So the Greek philosopher Aristotle talked about how the citizens of Athens should aspire to lead lives filled with kindness, courage, and loyalty. And you yourself have been known to have passion and intensity. What personal traits do you think a teenager like me should develop that will help him later in life?
Well, I think determination, persistence. It's the old Calvin Coolidge quote of persistence is omnipotent. Genius isn't the difference. Talent isn't the difference. It's the persistence. I truly believe that the most successful people, it's not that they're any different than anybody else. They're just more persistent. And you got to be willing to fail, but never quit. I fail a lot, but I'll never quit. So I'm really determined and really persistent and really driven. And I think that's, for me, that's a common thread in most successful people, is that they, like I said, they find something they're passionate about and they pour themselves into it and they become extremely driven and determined and they never stop until they accomplish that goal. And I think that's a quality that I have. And I think that's got to be a quality in most people that want to accomplish something and have success in anything.
So I'm going to throw out some topics and like you to free associate it.
Yeah.
What were your 16, 17-year-old thoughts on drugs?
Say that again, sorry?
What were your 16 or 17-year-old thoughts on drugs?
Yeah, what was good about me was that I was so driven to be a soccer player and an athlete that I had no interest in anything that would take away from my health, And I often thought, looking back, that was a good thing too. It was a good excuse to be able to tell my friends and other people that were potentially going to give me peer pressure, So I could always say, if I was around friends, if they tried to get me to do some of those things, because that happens. No, I can't. I'm a soccer player. I need my health. I can't become a professional soccer player unless I'm healthy and unless I take care of myself. And so it became kind of known around the school and around people in the school and even friends that you just don't. Caleb doesn't do those things, And so I think when you're passionate about something, it's really easy to be able to say, I'm not doing anything that's going to take away from my mind and my body being sharp. And I also had some friends that went the other way. And, in fact, there was a player that I played with in high school who was probably better than I was. And he never made it because he got, led down the wrong path and was doing, different things in terms of drinking and smoking pot, and because of that, he didn't end up where he should have been, and he was more talented than I was. So I always use that example of, you had two really good soccer players. I made it, he didn't, and I think a big reason was he got running around the wrong crowd, and he got doing the wrong things.
Wow. What were your thoughts on peer pressure?
Mm-hmm. I think it's really tough, in high school, because you're trying to fit in, and everybody wants to be, viewed as in the cool group. You know what I mean? That's why I found high school to be one of the most difficult years of my life, because I wasn't always in the cool group because I was so focused on soccer, and I was cool because I was a good soccer player, but a lot of times, for some reason, the cool group becomes the partiers, And I could kind of, like I said, because of my ability in soccer, I could kind of still be, viewed as, a cool guy. But what I learned now that I'm older, looking back, is that, being cool isn't about what the popular kids are doing. Being cool is about knowing what you want to do and having morals and ethics and values and being strong, not being the guy that just follows everybody. Leadership's lonely sometimes. Leaders do what they want to do, and they have conviction in themselves and their goals. They have character, and sometimes that's lonely, right? Because you don't fit in. But fitting in, short term might feel great sometimes, but if you're doing the wrong thing, long term, you're just a follower.
Yeah.
So I think, going back to your question, peer pressure is tough, because in high school it's like you get pressure from people that you admire to do things, but then you realize, you know what, if they're trying to get you to do things that aren't right, then you probably shouldn't admire them, and ultimately long term, while you might not fit in, you'll make it further, and you keep your integrity.
So how about, what were your thoughts on dealing with adversity?
Well, I believe that there are two types of people: growth mindset and fixed mindset people. Growth mindset people are always looking for challenges because they want to grow, and they want to better themselves. So they take risks, they take on difficult challenges, they have goals, they put themselves out there, and they're not scared of failure. For me, there's no failure, there's just feedback. I believe that. There's no failure, there's just feedback. So when you get information that tells you that you're not good enough, it's feedback, and then you work at it, you learn from it, you grow from it. That's the way I've always been. Some people that are fixed mindset take failure negatively. They think that's an impression of who they are, and they respond, in a negative way, and they get down, and some of them quit. They avoid failure. They avoid that information. They avoid that feedback. So I think for me, adversity is feedback. It's not failure, but it's ultimately a short-term setback, which for me, I look at setbacks can either be a stumbling block or a stepping stone. So I always see setbacks as a stepping stone, and I look at it as an opportunity to grow. And I fail a lot, but ultimately that's why I succeed. People that put themselves in a situation where they will maybe have a setback are the ones that ultimately succeed, because they want that challenge, they want that growth opportunity, and they're not scared of that. People that don't look for those situations, then they don't want to have that information that they need to get better, and maybe get, in some ways they feel like that's exposing a deficiency. But I think the most successful people, they don't worry about, adversity. They thrive on it, and they go for it again and again and again. And I think that's what shapes the personality of a real successful person, is that there's always just feedback. There's never failure. There's setbacks, but those lead to stepping stones.
Yeah. So Marcus Mariota has a saying, don't get too high, don't get too low. I was wondering if you have a motto or saying or code that represents your approach to life.
I think that's my saying. We all steal things like that, right? But when I first got here, that was one of the big things that I said to the media all the time is, as a team, we never want to let our highs get too high or lows too low. So you try to keep your highs low. Your highs, keep them low, and your lows, keep them high. And for me, that's just being even keeled. And I'm very much a coach that believes in a process, right? So again, going back to your question on adversity, if we lose a game, it's not a failure. It's just feedback. We need to get better. We need to go back to work. We need to go back to training. We need to honestly look at the last game and reflect on what went right, what went wrong in an honest way. Not in a negative way, but an honest way. And then we take that information, that reflection, in a positive way, and we go back to work and we work on those things. And then going to the next game, a lot of times it's better. It's that simple, you know. And that's why over the 3 years I've been here, we've never lost more than 2 games in a row, ever. Because we've been very, like I said, highs low, lows high, very consistent. And my guys are really honest with themselves. They don't point fingers at each other. They don't make excuses. I don't point fingers at them. I don't make excuses for them. I don't make excuses for myself. When we talk about a game and we analyze it, it's very honest. I'll admit mistakes. They'll admit mistakes. We take that information, that reflection, and then we go back to work and we get better. You know, and I think that's the process. We have to be honest sometimes too that a lot of games that we lose are good. We could have won. You know, so you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what do you take that's positive and negative? What do you correct? What don't you correct? Don't just think automatically because you didn't get a job, or you didn't win a game, or because you didn't make a team, or because a teacher said your paper was a C, and you know, there's opinions all the time, and there are short-term, I think, results that aren't always indicative of the work that's being done. You know?
Yeah.
I'm sure there are a lot of painters and writers that, you know, were viewed early on as they weren't good, but maybe it's because they were different. They were brilliant. You know, maybe that for me, that breaking that mold, I think sometimes the most successful people are the ones that are willing to challenge the norm, you know, and do it differently. And I was like that in my coaching. You know, I went a different path in terms of my philosophy. I went overseas, and you know, at first it was different, you know, and that's what made me better. So, you know, anyways, I think that's important, just to follow the process, you know, and stay focused on what's good and what's not, and keep getting better, and don't let people tell you necessarily always what's right and wrong. I think you have to be reflective yourself and believe in yourself, but also you have to be honest, and you can't be stubborn, you know, because sometimes people are stubborn and they don't see the things that need to be changed. But also don't think just because someone says, a teacher or a parent or a coach or whatever says that this is the way it should be, that necessarily that's the truth for sure, you know, because that's just one person's opinion. Don't read Twitter, blogs, you know what I mean? You gotta believe in yourself, but also be humble enough to say, you know what, yeah, you're right, this is better, this needs to be better. I need to change this, you know, be very analytical and reflective, you know, about what's happening. But also do your own thing, and if you believe in it, just do it. That type of thing. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, are there traits or skills that you need in life can you repeat that question?
Yeah, sure.
Are there traits or skills that you need to be successful in life as well as your career? As a coach, you need to bring the best out of people. You need to lead, be a good decision maker, be a good communicator. Is there any crossover with those traits to your regular life or family?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's all the same. It's leadership. And leadership is simple for me, the way I look at it, the way I define it. Leadership is being able to influence, and get the most out of people, you know, and to get the most out of people and influence people, you have to have a relationship with them, and you have to have trust. You know, you can't get the most out of people, and you can't influence people unless they trust you. And there are people in positions of leadership all over the world that aren't leaders. They have a title, but they abuse the title, and they abuse that power, and they actually aren't leaders because they don't have a genuine relationship, and they've never developed a genuine trust, and they don't have a genuine caring in the people that they lead. So that's the simple foundation of how I coach, how I parent, how I build relationships with friends, my wife, my kids, everything. It's exactly the same way I coach. And it's really simple. I develop a relationship, I develop trust, I communicate with them, I give them obviously the expectations, I give them the accountability as well, and I surround them with everything they need to be successful. When they're not successful, we talk about it, but it's always relationship based. It's not I'm not a transactional, I'm a transformational leader, if that makes sense.
So you've traveled the world, you've worked with educators, business people, sports stars. You're the coach for the MLS champions. You're widely respected by your peers in the Portland community. What truths or pieces of wisdom can you pass on to me? It can be about anything. Love, life, death, competition, family, adversity, success, anything. What can you share with me?
Oh, I think I'm 41 years old now, and I think what I realize is life, and you hear it all the time, life is short, and I think you gotta enjoy it, and you gotta find the joy in it, and you gotta take time to, while I'm very driven, that's been a real positive. That's been also a weakness sometimes because I get so driven and locked in that I miss the good things, the positive things that I'm doing, and sometimes it's on to the next, on to the next. So what I've learned is balance, making sure you find a life outside of the ambition and the job and the drive to, be the best coach. Find some joy in life outside of that, because there's a lot more to this world than just soccer and coaching, But I wouldn't be where I'm at if I wasn't very driven and passionate about that part of my life. But I've learned to just be a little more balanced. And I think with that, just enjoy enjoy life, enjoy the little things, When you win, enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with enjoying it, Sometimes I would move on to the next one before I even really enjoyed it. So after the championship, I enjoyed it for a couple of weeks and took it in, and I've learned to let my players do that as well, and I think that's made me a more well-rounded coach, person, father. Part of that was when I started having kids. When I started almost going through life again through my kids. Then I started to cherish things that maybe I didn't cherish when I was a kid. And then it was kind of weird, life goes in full circle, that people say that. I started to now think through my dad's eyes, and I started to feel like my dad, you know what I mean? And then I really started, for me, it just kind of almost encapsulated my life, because it had kind of gone in a circle already, you know what I mean? And I feel like just I'm much more calm, wise, still driven, still just as passionate, still just as competitive. I still have all the positive things I had, but now I'm a little more just balanced, calm, and I find things outside of my job that make my life a little bit more, complete and meaningful. That balance outside the job is really what makes the job fun. So that's the biggest thing that I've learned kind of in my middle life period right now that I'm in. And I'm loving it. I love my job. But when I leave the job, I take time to leave it. And I spend time with my kids. I don't want to look back and say, you're a great coach, but do you really remember the time with your kids, your family? There are a lot of probably coaches and successful people, business people that, all of a sudden life is over and they look back, they're like, I missed a lot of it. It went too quick. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't take time to, my dad used to tell me I didn't take time to smell the roses, and he always would say that. I'm like, I thought, what does that mean? That's take the time to smell the rose. It's really a simple thing. Do we take time to, look at things that are like, wow, there's some beauty in that, or or take time to 10 minutes to color with your kid, or
Mm-hmm.
Just take that time to enjoy life, because it is a rat race, and it's fast, and everybody's driven, and social media, it's everybody's trying to dog eat dog. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We can all do that, and you gotta fight it out, ultimately. But take the time to enjoy the finer things and to enjoy the little things. And there's as much joy in sitting down and making the other day I made a Play-Doh cat with my 5-year-old, 30 minutes. That's better than a win. You know what I mean? Wins are pretty good, but that's pretty good too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Probably before I would never done that, because I gotta watch video, I haven't time for this, you know what I mean? So I think that's a big thing. Balance, enjoy life. It doesn't mean you're gonna give up your drive and your ambition to be a successful person, but success is, more than just accolades, accomplishments. And I don't know if you read the article in the Oregonian, but it was a really good article because it talked about, in essence, I learned through kind of a interesting thing. My MLS Coach of the Year, Crystal, fell and cracked and was broken. And at first I was mad at that because I thought, it's a sign, I'm a broken coach, whatever. Then I realized that life's not about accomplishments. It's not about awards. It's about meaning. It's about rewarding rewards. And rewards are, having your players accomplish things, being a good parent, being a good father, being a good husband, being a good coach. It's not about awards or accomplishments or accolades. Those are all empty. Those get dusty. You know what I mean? But it's about memories and moments. That's what life's about, memories and moments.
So I've been, in this project, I've been talking to leaders in the Portland community, people like yourself who've achieved a great success. I'm wondering if there are certain aspects of a person's life that should take greater precedence over other aspects. So work, love life, family, something else. What has brought to you the greatest satisfaction?
Yeah, I think I just said it. I think it's family. For me, I never thought I'd find something that, I find more meaning in family than even coaching. But I also don't think you have to pick one or the other either. You know what I mean? It's I can be passionate about a lot of things, and I am. And I try to never do anything unless I do it the best that I can. I don't want to be a part-time parent. I don't want to be a part-time coach. I don't think you have to be. I think it's your full-time everything, and be the best that you can in everything. But you also, make mistakes. But for me, if I had to prioritize, I'd give up coaching in a second, if I had to choose between my family and coaching. But I don't have to. But my family's the most important thing in my life, my kids, my wife, the family, and that's my purpose.
Yeah. So let's talk about your success as a player. What's the basis for that success? Hard work, luck, genetics, cheating? There must be something beyond those things, right? Because everybody works hard. There's always going to be guys faster than you. Is there some little thing that gave you an edge? There's something you knew that you had that other players didn't. That's what I want to know. What's the final piece of the puzzle that made you from very good to great?
Well, I was never a great player. I was never a great player. I made it because I was smart, and I knew being smart is. You like this quote? Half of being smart is knowing what you're dumb at. So I think that's key. I think that's key in anything, is know what you're good at and focus on that the majority of your time, And what you're not good at, try to improve that, but try to avoid that as well and hire people to help balance that out, because we are who we are in a lot of ways, and you always want to improve the things we're not good at, but that's what I was as a player, and that's the way I am as a coach as well. I know what I was good at. I knew what I was good at as a player, and I focused on that, and I simplified that, and I perfected that, And what I wasn't good at, I tried to improve, but mostly I just tried to play in a way where I didn't expose that side of things. That's for me why I made it. And as a coach, it's the same thing. I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not good at. I hire people to balance out what I'm not good at. But as a player and a coach, I was really good at certain things, and so I focus on those things. And I think that's the key. Too many people, you ask them, what are you good at? They don't know. What are you bad at? You don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. What's your goal? I don't know. I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew what I was good at, and I focused on it. And I just, had a little bit more, I'd go back to, I think it's reflective. I was self-aware. I think it's really important to be self-aware, all the time.
So along the lines of that last question, from taking someone from good to great, academics or athletics or being a good son or a good friend, what if I want to be better than all of those? I wonder how I can get that final push. Is there any final piece to the puzzle?
I think it's just humility. I think you gotta be humble all the time. I wasn't always that way for some reason. I think arrogance versus confidence is always it's hard to make unless you're not confident. You have to have self-belief. But there's a big difference between confidence and arrogance. Arrogant people aren't humble. Arrogant people aren't self-aware. Arrogant people aren't leaders. They don't treat people the right way. They don't connect with people in a genuine way. Confident people are assertive. They're confident in themselves. They're confident in their abilities. Confidence is a state of mind. Arrogance is a trait. Confidence is a state. Arrogance is a trait. There's a big difference. So my point is be confident, but be humble. And I think if you're not confident, that's not going to work. If you're not humble, it's not going to work. So there's a big, you got to find that balance between everything. But I'll go back to it's real simple. If you want to make it, I don't care what you want to make it in, you have to be able to influence people and be a leader. And everybody has different styles of leadership, but you have to be able to connect to people. Because in this world, it's about people. Unless you're, on a computer screen all day long, that's what you want to do. You might be able to get away with that, but most of the time you're going to have to still interact with people and whether you're a father, you're definitely going to be a parent, husband, you're interacting with people. So be genuine, be who you are, know who you are, and connect with that person, relate to them. Find the buttons to push that will make them want to listen to you. Be passionate, ignite their passion. So for me, it's a feel that, but I'll go back to it's leadership, and leadership is relationship, and it's trust, and it's being a good person, but it's also being, having character and knowing what you want out of life and knowing what you want to do and going and doing it. But doing it in a way that's not trying to step on people or walk, you know what I mean? You're going to do it in a way that's the right way, be a good person.
Yeah. So I'd like to talk more about adversity. You had a very successful college career.
Yep.
Then turned pro, but your career was cut short by injuries, which leads me to my question. What do you do when things just fall apart like that? When you think everything is over, everything you've worked for, how do you charge that course back? How do you do it? I know you're supposed to respond to adversity, but how? The first week, day, month? What are you thinking at that moment when you realized you needed a plan B?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. There have been a lot of examples of, for me, setbacks, and I actually take them hard. I take them really hard. I think you have to, because if you don't take it hard, then you didn't care to begin with. You know what I mean? You weren't invested enough to begin with if you don't take it hard. So I can think of, probably 4 or 5 really hard moments where, like I said, I got feedback. You can call it failure, you can call it adversity. And in all those moments, I was low, but I do have this feeling that there's a purpose. And I have a feeling that everything happens for a reason always. And I have that spirit in me, whatever you can call it, religion, you can call it just spirituality. I don't know that I'm a religious guy. I'm definitely not an atheist either. You know what I mean? I believe in the spirit. I believe in God. I do believe in, personally, I'm not a devout Christian that goes to church every week, but I believe in being a good person. I believe that life has purpose and meaning. I do believe in Jesus Christ. I believe in God. I believe in just energy and a spirit, and I believe that life kind of works out, based on your energy and your spirit, and leads you in a way sometimes. And so every time there's been a negative, it's hurt and it's been hard. But I always thought to myself, there's a reason this is happening, and always I've responded to it. And for some reason, there's always been this huge, high or light at the end of that darkness. And you think back, man, if that would have never happened, I would never. So I want to be a pro. At 25, I was done playing pro. My dream, I always wanted to be my whole life a pro, and I've done it. What do? Then I realized, okay, well, this has got to be a reason. There's got to be a reason. I've got, another 60 years of life or whatever. And so I looked at it as a positive once I got over the hurt, because it does hurt. That, okay, well, I think it's time to get into coaching. And I would never be where I'm at 41 if I didn't end my playing career at 25, because I've coached for 16 years. Me coming to the Timbers, when I failed with the Olympic team, I would have never taken the job with the Timbers probably. I would have never even, been in a situation where I would have had this job if I wouldn't have had that happen. So I think the short-term setbacks and feedback always end to long-term achievement greater than what you had in that moment when you felt it was a really low moment and a setback. And I think if you have that approach of there are going to be failures, but they're just going to be for a reason. You don't know then, but eventually, you will, and your life will come into focus. But short term, it's always going to hurt. If it doesn't hurt short term, then you're not invested short term. You're not invested enough. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, my advice would be just take it as it comes, and use it as an advantage. Use it as a stepping stone. Use it as an opportunity to learn and grow. Use it as an emotion to gain strength from, because I think we all get, as we get older, a lot stronger through those moments, adversity, whether they're deaths in the family, whether they're failures in your family, whether there's failures in jobs. But a lot of times it leads you in another direction, or it makes you stronger for the next time to be able to manage those situations. So everything that happens can make you better, or worse, but you want them to make you better, and you want to have it lead you into a direction that maybe was the ultimate direction or ultimate path that was set out for you. Sometimes you get, sorry, I'm a quote guy. So sometimes you get lost on the way to a dream, and you find a better one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So sometimes you think you have a dream, and you think you've gotten lost on the way to that, and then you find a better one.
So just yesterday, the U.S. women's soccer team just qualified for the Olympics. Do you have any desire to coach for the U.S. men's Olympic team?
Well, I did. I was already the coach of the Olympic team, but we didn't qualify. So yeah. So I think maybe down the road, but ultimately I like being in Portland. I like coaching a club on a day-to-day basis. With national team jobs, or you have the team for a week, and then they go back to their clubs, and a month later, 2 months later, you have them again for a week. So it's a different type of job. You're selecting players, bringing them in short term, and then you're playing in a couple games for a tournament. Whereas a club job is you have them every day. I'm a builder. I like to build teams and be around the guys on a daily basis, and I think that's more my strength than just taking a group, throwing it together. But maybe 20 years from now, when I feel like I'm ready for a different type of job, but I really like coaching this age, and I like coaching the pros with Portland.
Yeah. So finally, my last question. My dad says a successful life is one where I'm happy with myself. He says if I can reach 40 and look at myself in the mirror and not cringe, then I'm halfway there. How would you define a successful life?
I think it's success is doing what you love and believe in. It's you. It's your definition, no one else's. So as long as you feel like you're successful, then you're success. It's that simple. What do you want out of life? And it's just, I think it's doing what you love and doing what you believe in, and feeling like you've gotten what you wanted to out of life. So unfortunately there are people with different standards. But you can't, that's them, that's their standards, you know what I mean? So myself and my standards, it's feeling like I've done what I love and what I believe in, and that I've done the best that I can do. Everything else will fall into place, but what people say about me, my record, my awards, my accomplishments, for me, those have nothing to do with me viewing myself as a success.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Porter.
Yeah, thank you, Katie.